What's up, fellow gamers? This is Andrew Block on another episode of Goblin Talk, and today I'm doing a special podcast episode about a game from the past that was recently re-released, and that game is HeroQuest. Originally released in the early 90s, mid-90s, I think it was around there, late 80s perhaps, by Milton Bradley, in a partnership with Games Workshop. This is a dungeon crawl game where several players are playing heroes, going through quests, trying to accumulate treasure, and an ultimate goal to defeat a sorcerer who is amassing an army to try and take over the world. The unique thing about HeroQuest is that it laid the template for several of the dungeon crawler games that we see today. Games like Descent and Gloomhaven all find their roots in HeroQuest, which of course finds its roots in games like Dungeons & Dragons. So what's special about this re-release? Well, it has a certain nostalgic factor. The original HeroQuest has been out of print for decades now, and buying it on the third-party market is kind of hit or miss. You have to be pretty diligent to find a decent copy with all of its parts in decent condition, and sometimes it takes a while to find one. Now, this is an important game for me because this is a game that I've always wanted in my collection, but I've never been able to find that perfectly priced game. Every time I go onto eBay, it's always priced at $200 or more, sometimes upwards of $300 for a 100% complete copy. And I'm not interested in buying multiple copies to piece together a usable copy, and I'm kind of a completionist, so I want a 100% complete copy. And that's not for collector's reasons or anything like that. I'm OCD about my games having all their parts. That's just the low and skinny of it. If I had really put my mind to it and done some really diligent bargain hunting and everything like that, I could have probably found a decently priced 100% copy. So about a week or so ago, Hasbro put up a teaser, HeroQuest, and then it had a timer on it, counting down. And fans speculated as to what that could mean. Could it mean the release of an app? Could it mean the re-release of a game? That was the popular theory. And lo and behold, they were right. It was the re-release of the HeroQuest game system. Popped up on September 22nd on their brand-exclusive crowdfunding platform, Hasbro Pulse. Later that day, on day one, it reached its $1 million mark, so it's going to be in production. Now, sad to say, Hasbro kind of shot themselves in the foot because it's shipping only in the US and Canada, but I don't see very many Canadians getting into this because from what I've heard, the shipping costs on this particular thing is almost as much, if not more, than the base pledge. So I don't know if too many Canadians are buying into that Kool-Aid unless they're really diehard fans. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not going out to the UK, and that apparently hasn't sat well with our brother gamers across the pond, which I can totally understand. Now, I personally, being one who's wanted this game for a long time but hasn't been able to find it at a decent price, jumped on it immediately. I backed it. In fact, this is the only Kickstarter I've ever backed, or crowdfunded. I usually don't go for the crowdfunding thing because I don't particularly care for how they work. They kind of feed off of a FOMO mentality, fear of missing out. And I didn't back it because I didn't want to miss out on it. I wanted this particular thing. So I pre-ordered it basically right away. That's it. I have no doubts that it will be available for retail after the crowdfunding is over. Hasbro would be very dumb not to do that. It is a great gateway game to the dungeon crawl type of game. It's simple, but it has a lot of fun value. It's easy to teach. It's easy to get to the table. It's good for pretty much all ages. Well, I would say probably 10 and up, maybe. Some younger kids may have difficulty grasping some of the concepts of like searching a room and things of that nature, how spells work. But other than that, you could pull it out on a game night and teach it within 10 minutes, and everybody will be rolling dice and getting treasure within those 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and dive into what is available here on the crowdfunding. So as I mentioned, their target goal for production was $1 million. As I am recording this, we have hit $1.4 million, well on our way to 1.5. There are 2 tiers for pledges right now. There's the heroic tier at $99.99, and the Mythic tier, which is $149.99, which is the tier that I bought into. Let's look at what you get with each tier. For the heroic tier, $99.99, you get the base game, which has the 4 base heroes, the barbarian, the dwarf, the elf, and the wizard. And then as a bonus for pledging, you get gender swaps for each of those heroes. Looking at these digital renders, because they don't have actual products up yet, because it isn't in production, these are very cool looking. Another exclusive to the Pulse crowdfunder is you get Sir Ragnar. In the original game, one of the quests is to rescue Sir Ragnar, and they didn't have a miniature for him. You would just take one of the miniatures for one of the enemies that you weren't facing, and you'd throw them on the board and say, that's Sir Ragnar. Because a lot of gamers who had HeroQuest were D&D players and other RPG players, they would take a miniature from their collection that looked like what they imagined Sir Ragnar would look like, and they'd throw him on the board and say, that's Sir Ragnar. So we no longer have to do that. We actually have a Sir Ragnar miniature now. Now we're getting into the monsters. So we have all new sculpts for all the monsters. The sculpts for the original heroes are actually very reminiscent of what they looked like from the original game. Now in the original game, they were all red plastic with square bases, so I don't know if they're going to try and hold to that theme. It'd be kind of cool if they did have certain kind of a nostalgic feeling to that. But I doubt they will. They're all shown as gray plastic here, so they're probably going to do that for the people who like to paint miniatures, which is cool. I'm not one of those people. I don't like painting miniatures. It's too time consuming for me. I have lots of games with miniatures, and it's too tedious for me. Plus I just have trouble with it. It's not that I can't do it. I have painted miniatures in the past, but it's just I don't find it fun or relaxing or cathartic like other people do. It's just not my thing. So we have new sculpts for the monsters. The gargoyle looks pretty cool. It's a scary looking demon thing. I mean, he was always kind of scary looking in the original, but this time he's got a lot more detail to him. The Dread Sorcerer, originally called the Chaos Sorcerer in the original one. They had to dump all the ties to the Warhammer fantasy setting because Games Workshop is apparently not involved in this. The Dread Warriors, they look really different. Again, those were the Chaos Warriors in the original game. They're different now. They look pretty cool. They look kind of like Iron Knuckles from Legend of Zelda. It's kind of neat. That's what this game is kind of like. It's kind of like playing Legend of Zelda. It's actually a very apt analogy for it. Skeletons, the orcs. Looks like we have some inclusivity on the orcs. We got some female orcs in there. I don't think that was really necessary, but still cool. Goblins, 2 of each sculpt. We have 3 different sculpts for a total of 6 goblins. 2 each of the orcs. So we have, looks like if it's 2 each and we have 4 different sculpts, it looks like 8 orcs. It's a lot. The mummies. Oh, that mummy sculpt looks pretty cool. The zombie sculpt looks kind of neat. I liked the original zombies a little bit better. The abominations, which were originally the Famor or Famir or something like that in the original one, they changed them to giant fish monsters in this one. Look like Kuatoas. One of the first real big changes in the game. In the original game, you would have a 3D dungeon terrain that the Overlord player would place out when you entered a room or something like that. You know, doors and tables and bookcases and stuff like that. But it was always a combination of little plastic pieces that held cardboard in place. But it looks like this time around they're all going to be all plastic. The closed doors and the open doors. Sorcerer's Table, the Tomb. This is all stuff that comes with the regular game, by the way. This is all the heroic tier stuff. Weapons rack, the actual rack, like the torture instrument, the rack. 2 tables, 2 bookcases, 3 treasure chests, a cupboard, a cupboard, fireplace, a throne, an alchemist's bench. That looks really cool. That looks way different than it did in the original. I guess a mix of 10 debris items, including 4 rats. Something to that effect. And that's the heroic tier. So you basically just get the original game with a Sir Ragnar miniature and 4 gender swap miniatures for the original heroes. That's cool. Now in the Mythic tier, you get the base game, everything that I just read off, plus 2 expansion sets, which were expansions available for the original game back in the 80s and 90s, Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord, and any pledge unlocks. Now, anybody familiar with Kickstarter or other crowdfunding platforms will know when the dollar amount rises to a certain level, there are certain extras that are added into the campaign and will be available for certain pledges. The Mythic tier gives you some of those, and I'll get to what those are a little later on. So, in the first expansion, Return of the Witch Lord, it looks like we get some extra map spaces, some more zombies and mummies and skeletons. Makes sense. He's supposed to be like a lich, so I don't remember playing this expansion. I think if I remember correctly, I've only played the core game. We got some new doors, a reinforced door and an iron door. We got the Witch Lord miniature himself. And then we have Mentor. And an alternate wizard hero card for playing Mentor as a hero. Now Mentor is according to the lore of HeroQuest, he is the wizard who recruits all the heroes to go out on this quest. He is the Gandalf of this story. So that's kind of cool. The second expansion, Kellar's Keep. Looks like we have a bunch of new enemies here. Looks like some more abominations, some more goblins, orcs and abominations and goblins. That's what it looks like. Plus some more doors, and that's pretty much it, I think. I'm just trying to decipher all the information here. Their website isn't exactly set up all that well. It's kind of hard to decipher what exactly is available and which isn't. So now we're getting into the stretch goals. Now, as I said at the beginning, we are very close to 1.5 million as the time of recording this. So we have unlocked 2 of the stretch goals. The first one was unlocked at 1.2 million, and that is a Warlock hero. So we have another hero to choose from. And there's just no details as to anything like that. There's just a small picture of the Warlock and a little picture of exclusive spells that hero can choose from. And at 1.4 million, we unlocked extra dice. Now, you can never have too many dice in a dice rolling game. So I'm happy about that one. At 1.6 million, we're going to unlock a couple extra skeleton miniatures. Whatever. I don't care about that. At 1.8, we're going to unlock 2 extra goblins. That's another what if. I don't really care. And at 2 million, we get a whole new quest book called The Prophecy of Taylor. That's neat. A whole new campaign. So basically another expansion. So that'll be kind of cool. And I don't think there will be a problem getting to 2 million. It's only 3 days in and we're already at 1.5 million. So getting to 2 million probably won't be a problem. And I also watched their little Pulsecon, their little online convention, because we can only have conventions online now through live streams, where they talked about HeroQuest, and they teased some additional miniatures and some additional quests and expansions and things like that. And they showed off another zombie miniature, so that's in there somewhere. They haven't added it to any of the stretch goals or anything like that, but it'll be cool to see what they're going to change and what they're going to add to this. For those of us who have been wanting to get HeroQuest and add it to our collection, this is a fresh start. Again, it is a bummer that it is only available to U.S. residents, more or less. You know, like I said, if Canadians want to spend that extra $150 to get it shipped to them, you know, they can get it too. But that does kind of suck, and it really sucks that the UK can't get it. Now, there are... where's the timer on this? There's like 40 days left on this. Something like that. 30 some odd days. It's going to stop at November 6th, 2020. And that's when there will be no more backers. Now, whether or not they're going to extend it after that, I don't know. Kickstarters and all crowdfunding platforms have a tendency to extend the amount of time they take backers and stuff like that, so that may happen, may not, I don't know. I personally am very excited to and happily pledge to this in order to add it to my collection, because like I said, I've been wanting to add this game to my collection for a long time, but just have never been able to find a decent copy, because people apparently hoard it. And I know it's not that this game is rare, because once this launched and people in the UK found that it couldn't be shipped to them, I saw tons of messages of UK gamers saying, oh, well, they don't need this new one. They don't need an updated one because they have 3 copies of the original. Oh, I still have my copy of the original. I still have 2 copies of the original. So it's obviously not that rare, and people still have it. So I don't understand why people are charging multiple hundreds of dollars for an old 90s game. I mean, I could get others 80s and 90s games for far less. I bought my copy of Axis and Allies, the original, for $50. And the only thing it was missing was the original dice. And I found those for like $5. I think the most I spent on an old game was Broadsides and Boarding Parties. I think I spent close to $75 on that. But again, that was complete. Nothing was broken in it. Again, I'm excited to pledge to this. I'm excited to get it into my collection. It's kind of a bummer that I have to wait a whole year to get it into my collection, but it will eventually be there. And I will happily break this out and play it. And I will probably try to play it a lot. Dungeon crawlers are some of my favorite types of games to play. I have lots of them. In fact, I should probably purge a little bit and get rid of a couple of them. Let me know what you think about the HeroQuest relaunch in the comments below. Don't flood my comments with statements about shipping to the UK. We all know it sucks that it's not shipping to the UK, and flooding my comments with that isn't going to change that. Hasbro doesn't pay any attention to me. I'm just some no-name YouTube person, and complaining about it to me isn't going to get it changed. Did you have fond memories of HeroQuest when you were a kid? Is it a game that you're interested in trying now that it's back? Did you miss out on it when you were a kid, so you want to try it? Do you even like dungeon crawlers, or do you think they're derivative or an outdated game type? Would you rather wait for a more updated dungeon crawler? I know Descent 3 is in Fantasy Flight's queue to come up pretty soon. I saw a little teaser of it at the end of their little con, or whatever it was, their in-flight report, or whatever they like to call it. So yeah, let me know what you think, and until next time, I will talk to you all later, and I hope you have a good day.